Yes, good morning, ma'am. Yes, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
Okay. Is the screen visible? Yes, is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Today we'll be seeing about content delivery networks using clouds. First of all, we'll be seeing uh, what is meant by content delivery network. Then we'll see about some cloud service providers, especially storage providers, and how we can build this content delivery network using these cloud or storage providers using cloud. Okay, so first of all, let me discuss something like yeah, Praneeth.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, suppose you wanted to check whether your internet is working or not in your system. What you will do?
Wi-Fi symbol is there now, sir.
Yeah, okay. Then
Disconnect and connect.
if it is connected, then we can we ensure that internet is coming?
No, sir. There will be a symbol, no, sir. No network.
Okay. There it is mentioned that whatever the Wi-Fi device you have named, that is connected, like that it will show, and the Wi-Fi signal is there. Can we ensure this one? In general, what you will do? You please tell.
Disconnect and connect, or else
No,
switch
no.
off the router and
No. If it is not coming, then you are saying about alternative things. What can be done? But I'm asking, if it is like internet connectivity is there or not, we have to check. In general, what we will do? We will open browser. In that browser, we will, in general, most of the times, most of the people will do like accessing Google, isn't it? Yes.
yes, sir.
Yeah, just we'll open a tab or a browser, then we'll type google.com, then if it is coming, then it's fine, and then we can ensure that internet connectivity is there, otherwise not. Like that we will conclude. Now the question is like yeah, these kind of users will be there, and in addition to this normal Google vertical Google users will be there, like for some purpose, if they wanted to learn something or they wanted to know about news or anything, more people will be accessing Google all the time, isn't it? Now the question is, although Google is having those many number of what you call customers or users every time, how it can able to provide that much response time, okay, in a quick time, how it could able to respond? This is the question. Got my point? It's like you consider Facebook or any other website, if you open, then it will take some time, but Google will be opened very fastly compared to other websites. How it is possible? And why we are trusting Google only to check whether internet is coming or not, internet connectivity is there or not, is based because of that response time.
Service is too fast. Too fast,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, yeah, that's correct. So why it could able to provide that kind of service, although so many users will be there, right, for Google? Yeah, tell.
Number of users and more connectivity.
Yeah, number of users are there, now the entire content we have in Google server. Okay, people will be searching for medical things, searching for what you call technical aspects of it, searching for some managerial aspects or anything. Will be searching that particular, we will be approaching the Google server. Although so many people will be approaching, the response time is very, very less. How it is possible is Google, although it is having what you call centralized server where it could able to monitor all the things, it is having some end servers. Okay, so many end servers with Google what you call Google company are present. Like end for end user, instead of going to, suppose let us consider Google server exists in US. Every request has to go from all the countries to US, means it will take a lot of time to go and processing the request and come back. Although the request is very, very small, it will take minute time. Authentication and all requires, and it has to go through all the routers. So many routers will be, these all things, these all will take more time. Instead of that, what it has done, Google has done is, it has established so many end servers. Like the motive is to reduce the distance from the end user to the server. What it has done is, so many end servers it has established, and there will be some centralized server. Okay, centralized server, but yeah, every request will not go to this particular one, and whatever the data required, for end user, that data will be kept at each and every server. Periodically it will be updated. This is what the policy they have adopted. Got my point? That's why, although so many people are approaching or using that particular Google, we could able to get the response in quick time, because it has established several end servers rather than keeping only one centralized server. Got my point? This is the motive. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is the motivation to motivation for today's topic, called content delivery network. Of course, as we all are familiar with Google, I have discussed with respect to Google, but in general, whatever the data the user wants to access, if it is available within less distance, then within quick time we could able to get, user could able to get the required content. This is what the idea. This can be accomplished by the by establishing a network called content delivery network. Okay, in short we can say CDN, content delivery network. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now, this particular content delivery network using clouds, how we can able to build. This is what today's topic. Before going to see actual thing how it can be built, let us see whatever the cloud what you call platforms that we have. Like earlier in previous two classes we have discussed about AWS, right? Amazon Web Services. That is a cloud provider, right? So some services will be provided. Especially in this particular lecture, we will be dealing with this the cloud which is being offered. The service being offered is storage. We have discussed like infrastructure as a service, storage as a service, software as a service. Like this, several services are there, right? Now, when you consider storage as the service, then such kind of clouds we will be discussing. Okay, there are several vertical clouds or cloud platform which are offering storage as the service. Okay, now, yeah, in order to ascertain the feasibility of building a content delivery network service from storage clouds, we are having several storage clouds. Okay, that we will see. Okay, what are the storage clouds that we have? By using these, if you want, if you wanted to build a content delivery network, then it is important to ascertain whether the storage clouds used to possess the necessary features, performance and reliability characteristics to act as a CDN replica servers. This is important to judge, like whatever the storage clouds that we have, whether those storage clouds are ready to incorporate the requirements of CDN. What is meant by CDN? Content delivery network. What is the purpose of content delivery network? In order to provide quick response to end user by what you call maintaining several replica of servers. Okay, those servers we can call it as end servers, which are directly communicating to end users. Okay, this is what basic idea. Whether whatever the requirements of CDN we have, those all can be incorporated by using these storage clouds or not, we have to judge. And while performance is crucial for content delivery, performance is definitely crucial for content delivery, we also need to examine the cost structures of the different providers. Although performance is needed, like when we wanted to get quick response from server, what has to we will incorporate several end servers. This is basic idea. Okay, but for establishing or for deploying these many end servers require more cost than what you call the profit they will get by what you call by maintaining only single server. Understand? By getting whatever the quick response time, whatever the profit they will get, that is lesser than whatever the cost incurred to establish all the end servers. Then it is of no use, right? Got my point? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now we will be checking whether storage clouds these storage clouds can be used to establish content delivery network for our purpose or not. Okay, that we will be checking. Okay, so before seeing whether it is compatible or not, we will consider several storage clouds. Okay, in specifically 4-5 storage clouds mentioned in the textbook. Those we will see with respect to their costs. Okay, some costs also defined, like for this much storage, this is the cost. For this much response, what you call these many requests, this is the cost. Like that, every storage cloud specified certain prices. Okay, based upon this, user could able to judge whether I have to choose this storage cloud to establish a CDN or not. Like that, the user could able to judge. Okay, this is the basic idea. That's why we are seeing what the prices and all. Okay, now we'll see. So here we are having 4 most prominent storage cloud providers. One is Amazon Simple Storage Service. Did we discuss this one earlier? Amazon Storage Service, Simple Storage Service, Amazon S3. Yes. Earlier in previous 2 classes we have discussed about AWS. In that Amazon Simple Storage Service is one of the services offered by AWS Cloud. Okay, this is one of the storage cloud. And CloudFront, of course, this CloudFront is also what you call product of Amazon only, simple variant of this S3. Okay, next, second one is Nirvanix Storage Delivery Network. This is another storage cloud that we will be considering. Third one is Rackspace Cloud Files. Fourth one is Microsoft Azure Storage. These are the 4 things that we will be discussing. So first of all, Amazon Simple Storage Service. Actually, this Amazon S3 is the first one who have launched this storage cloud concept. Actually, who have introduced this storage cloud concept, and it was in 2006. And what they have established is they have established what you call huge infrastructure in order to provide storage capability for end users. That's it. Okay, it is not relevant to CDN, that you remember. CDN is not directly relevant to this Amazon S3. It is not the basic idea. And this particular one we can consider as Amazon.com, where this huge infrastructure is being used. Okay, next, second variant, or the variant introduced by Amazon itself, is called CloudFront. Here there is no persistent storage. Here you see, however, unlike S3, okay, CloudFront does not offer persistent storage. You remember the word persistent means what you call permanent. We can consider permanent storage. It's like all the time whatever the data we will be having in this CloudFront is not cannot be considered as whatever the storage that we have in centralized server. But what is the purpose of this CloudFront is, it is like we will be having, we discussed this CDN, right? We'll be having central server, okay, where entire data is stored, and there will be what end servers, okay, here also will be having same data. But over a period of time, after one day, we cannot guarantee that the same data is available here or not, but periodically it will be updated. This whatever the centralized database that we have, this will be updated here, but after a certain time, or at any time when we consider this, this we cannot consider as the final data or persistent data. Got my point? Here, whatever the data we are having, that will be updated periodically from this centralized server, centralized data storage. But whenever we consider this, we cannot ensure that this storage is persistent. This storage, whatever the store vertical data that we have, that is final one. Like that, we cannot ensure. Okay, that's why this storage is not persistent. Okay, this is with respect to the second type of Amazon vertical storage cloud called CloudFront. Here we will be providing like a cache. Instead of going to the centralized server, what we will do, we will access from this CloudFront. We will access from CloudFront. Okay, that is whenever user requests, then it will come to CloudFront. If the data is available, then it will access from it directly without dealing with or without communicating to centralized storage or the server. Got it? So this is CloudFront. Earlier, before this, Amazon has introduced Amazon S3, that is that we can consider as a centralized one. Amazon CloudFront is nothing but end server storage system, where we can consider this one as the cache storage. Okay, it is nearer to our required thing, what you call CDN, content delivery network, isn't it? Why? Because the centralized storage is there, that is Amazon S3, and we are having CloudFront here, so that user no need to go to every request, need not be directed to this S3. From CloudFront itself, it could able to get the data. Okay, this is what the basic idea. Yeah. Next, the second one here we are having as Nirvanix. It is a kind of Amazon S3 actually. Whatever the services offered by Amazon S3, same kind of services will be offered by Nirvanix. It is from another company called Nirvanix. That's it. Okay, but the pricing difference is there from Amazon service and this Nirvanix. Okay, these things depicted in the table that we will go through afterwards. Next, here you see third one is Rackspace Cloud Files. This is the third storage cloud that we are considering, and this Rackspace can be what you call referred as Mosso as well. Earlier, this was called Mosso. Rackspace cloud files. It is self-serve storage and a delivery service in a fashion similar to that of Amazon and Nirvanix offering. Okay, the offerings are same, like functionality is same, but it is from another company. That's it. The core cloud files offering is served from a multi-zoned redundant data center. Okay, multi-zoned redundant data center. And here this is the third one. Then there is a difference here. Unlike Amazon CloudFront, Rackspace does not charge for moving data from core cloud files servers to the CDN edge locations. This is a basic difference. Whatever the CloudFront we discussed, it will charge to move the data from Amazon S3 to CloudFront, whereas this Rackspace will not charge for that movement to move data from centralized storage to end servers, end locations. It will not charge. This is what the difference between Amazon CloudFront and Rackspace. Okay, and the fourth one is Azure storage service. It is being offered by Microsoft, and it offers a comparable storage and a delivery platform called Azure Storage, which provides persistent and redundant storage in the cloud. Persistent, that means always it is correct, we can consider. Next, redundant storage in the cloud. In general, we'll consider redundant storage means whatever the data we have, same copy, if we have more than once, then we can consider as a redundant copy. So when you consider this CDN, we will be having centralized storage, and as well as centralized server will be having, as well as end location at the end servers also will be having the data. Okay, this redundant feature is also offered by another storage cloud called Azure Storage. Okay, which is being offered by Microsoft. So now we will see what are the prices and all for various storage clouds. Here you see Nirvanix, Amazon is having several variants, like in US and in S3. Yeah, in US and European standard, this is the price, and in other areas it is the price. And Rackspace, Azure, with respect to Asia Pacific and non-Asia, these are the prices. Here you see incoming data, $ per GB. Yeah. For incoming data, in order to store this much 1 GB data, how many dollars? 0.18 GB of $0.18 we have to pay when we use storage cloud Nirvanix. When we use Amazon S3, this is the price. When we use Rackspace, this is the price. Like this, several variants we are having. For all those variants, for storing incoming data, this is the price. Similarly, for sending data, that is outgoing data, this is the price. Next, storage, this is the price. Like this, how many requests it is processing, depending upon that, it is being charged like this. Next, yeah, this is the request. A huge number of requests means then this is the cost incurred. And here we are having two types of request: put request, get request. Put request is to place the data, such kind of request, this is the price, and get request is to access the data. For this, these are the prices. Just this is for understanding. No need to remember this kind of. Just you remember what kind of parameters we will be having for pricing. Different parameters to consider pricing. Like suppose it will be like yeah. Earlier we discussed about Act FiberNet. I think most of you are having such kind of BSNL or Geo FiberNet. These kind of FiberNet facilities are there. When you consider ACT FiberNet, in that they will be giving one plan. In that plan, they will be giving like a 20 Gbps. Okay, 20 Mbps. Sorry, 20 Mbps is the speed. Then can we consider 20 Mbps? Let us say for 500 they are giving 20 Mbps. Yes, it is a very good speed. So can we consider that only that parameter to take the connection? Try to understand my point. Simple analogy I am trying to incorporate in this. ACT FiberNet is offering 20 Mbps connection for 500. Okay, let us say Jio FiberNet is offering 25 Mbps for 400. Okay, BSNL is offering 15 Mbps for 500. Now, which one is suitable, or which one is more attractable? In general, 25 Mbps for 400 means people will come. People will come forward to take that connection. But there will be certain things to be considered, like what is how much time they will be giving that speed. 25 Mbps if they are offering for down up to, let us say, 50 GB, they will be offering 25 Mbps. Afterwards, they will be reducing it to just 1 Mbps. Then that has to be considered. What is the entire data that is being offered at this particular speed? Got my point? Yes. Yes, please respond. Yes.
Yes, sir.
See here, ACT, BSNL, Jio FiberNet, all these are providing certain speeds of data. Although one is providing more speed, we cannot go for it without checking other parameters, right? Similarly, although storage cloud is being offered by several providers like Amazon, Nirvanix, Microsoft Azure, these all things are storage clouds. Okay, although several things are available, and by seeing one particular parameter, we cannot choose that particular storage cloud for deploying our data. Why? Because there are certain parameters, like how much it is offering, it is charging for processing the request, for storing the data, for processing the get request, put request. All these things will be matter. That is what the point I wanted to mention. Yeah, this is just a comparison of these all, like Amazon, Nirvanix, Rackspace, Windows, Azure, all these things. And here you can consider how many dollars it is incurring for a month. Based upon this is a comparison, just a comparison of several what you call storage clouds and traditional CDN, content delivery. It is having more cost in general, content delivery. That's why we are making use. We are trying to build a CDN, content delivery network, by using clouds. This is what entire idea. Actually, we are having content delivery network earlier, traditional content delivery network, without considering clouds and all. But whatever the cost incurred by this CDN is more compared to these all cloud providers. Now the idea is, by using these cloud providers or these storage clouds, can we able to establish a cloud content delivery network using these storage clouds. Okay, this is what the motivation, in order to reduce the cost, of course. Okay, now we'll see how it can be done. Now these are the 4 different storage clouds which are popular. Of course, there exist several others as well. There are like encoding services which are being offered by 2 providers. One is encoding.com, another one is Nirvanix. Of course, Nirvanix we have seen earlier. Encoding.com. This encoding.com is a cloud-based video encoding platform that will take a raw video file and gives encoding what you call encoded file suitable for streaming. such kind of encoding is nothing but putting in other format, right? So such kind of what you call service is being provided by this website called encoding.com. This is another provider. Of course, Nirvanix will also take raw video file and it will generate specific to some particular formats, like here you see Nirvanix also offer video encoding as a service, offering a limited number of H263, H264 encoding profiles in a flash or MPG. So these are the encoding services. Two service providers are being offering this service. One is encoding.com, another one is Nirvanix. Okay, so now we have seen several storage clouds which are being offered, which are offering this storage as the service. Now our main aim is to build what? Entire aim is to build content delivery network. Got it? Content delivery network. So there is a content delivery network called Meta CDN, which is based on the storage clouds in low cost and high performance content delivery. This is the basic aim of Meta CDN. Okay, here we introduce Meta CDN, a system that leverages the existing storage cloud, whatever the storage clouds that we have, like Amazon S3, Amazon CloudFront, or Nirvanix we have seen, and Rackspace we have seen. Then Microsoft Azure. These are the storage clouds and encoding services. Based upon these, creating an integrated overlay network by combining all these things, some integrated overlay network that aims to provide low cost. Okay, these are the aims, right? Low cost, high performance, easy to use content delivery network for content creators and consumers. This is the basic idea. This Meta CDN is to offer such kind of storage cloud. Okay, storage cloud or such kind of content delivery network based upon these all storage clouds. Here, this Meta CDN service is presented to end users in two ways. One is by using web portal, another one by using we'll see. I'll rotate, just a second. See here, we are having Meta CDN, which will offer several services, like here we are having Meta CDN Manager, Monitor, QS Monitor, Allocator, Database. All these things are components available in Meta CDN. On top of it, we are having Amazon S3, Nirvanix. Next, this Moso is nothing but Rackspace Cloud CDN, Microsoft Azure. These all we are having. Okay. So by using these as the base, we are building a content delivery network using these all clouds. Okay, these are storage clouds we can consider. Okay, this is the these are the interfaces which are used to interact with this Meta CDN, by which the users could able to get the required services. Here, by using web portal, users could able to communicate. This is one interface as we discussed here. Here you see Meta CDN service is presented to end users in two ways. One is it can be presented as web portal. Okay, that web portal, as the web portal we can use it. So here you see, as a web portal, user could able to communicate with this Meta CDN. Another one is by using web service. By using as a web service, we could able to communicate, our user could able to communicate with Meta CDN. This is basic idea. Here we are having encoding encoder. It is being built on encoding.com. Of course, Nirvanix also is one of the providers which will offer encoding services. This is Nirvanix encoder. Okay, so here, yeah, one is based on web portal, another one is we can use this one as the web service. Okay, whatever the web portal we are considering, that is developed based upon Java Enterprise and Java Server phases technologies. By using these technologies, that web portal has been developed with MySQL as backend. Okay. Here you can see, by registering to this Meta CDN, user could able to get whatever the storage cloud he wants by using this what you call unique interface to utilize all the storage clouds. Now you can this is registration page where we have to enter several fields, and preferred providers we can specify. Here is, you can consider these all are available ones. Out of these, which one we wanted to use, that we can specify, so that entirely what is the functionality that we are expecting out of this Meta CDN, what kind of functionality we are expecting from this CDN, what kind of functionality we are expecting. Yes, please respond. At least if one person attempts the answer, then I'll be happy. Yeah. Yes, Shrestha, are you there? Shrestha? Nikita? Amrita? Yes, Praneeth?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what is the basic what you call motivation for building this Meta CDN? Yes, try to attempt it. It's not a crime that if you give wrong answer, it's not a crime that you remember. Yes, ma'am. At the beginning of the class, I have told you what is the motivation for CDN, Content Delivery Network. Yes.
Providing fast service.
Yeah. So same thing we are trying to build by using clouds. So some storage cloud is there. So many storage clouds are there. So we are providing a framework or the unique interface for all the users that we are saying as Meta CDN. Okay, Meta CDN. By registering in this Meta CDN web portal, user could able to utilize these all storage clouds. These all storage clouds by using this Meta CDN interface, so that they could able to get services of these storage clouds easily. Okay, and while registering in this Meta CDN, it could user can give what are the storage clouds preferable. Like I'll show you in this registration form. Here you see username, password, name, email, all these things. Apart from this is the important one. Here you see preferred providers. These are being offered by Meta CDN, and out of these, which clouds you are preferring to store your data. Like basic idea, I'll tell you. Earlier, content delivery network means like Google means Google only has to establish all the end servers, okay, to get a quick response time. But now idea is Meta CDN will act as a mediator, where several clouds we are having, storage clouds we are having. By using those storage clouds, it could able to provide this content delivery network. Like this will act as the mediator. Okay, it is not establishing any storage cloud, and it is not establishing any end servers. What it is doing is, whatever the storage clouds we are having, like Amazon cloud servers, storage clouds we can have at some places, and Microsoft storage servers we can have at some other places. Like this, several storage clouds we are having. By communicating with these storage clouds, okay, this Meta CDN could able to establish a content delivery network, which can act as a traditional content delivery network. Got my point? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So while registering, we could able to give the preferred provider, so that it will consider these storage clouds while storing our data. Yeah. Next, here we are having Meta CDN provide an abstract class called default connector. Default connector. What is the functionality of abstract class, ma'am? Yeah, please tell. Abstract class. Yes, in your Java or .NET, you are having abstract classes, or even in this C++ also you are having abstract class. Yes. Any idea about abstract class? Yes, please respond, ma'am. This is normal question only. Shrestha? Yes, Shrestha, are you there? Ganesh? Ganesh? See, abstract class means it will contain some abstract methods. What is meant by abstract method or function? Means the function or the method which is not having its definition. We call it as abstract method. That is, in other words, we can say like the function declaration, which is in function definition ended with a semicolon, we can consider as an abstract class. That is, we will not be having any definition for a function. Such kind of function we can consider as abstract function or abstract method. It's like in general we will be having return type, function name, then whatever the parameters that we have, then open curly brace, then the body of the function or the method, then we'll close. Suppose if you don't have these these curly braces, and we end with a semicolon, then we can consider that one as abstract method, and we will designate such kind of method prior to it with the keyword called abstract. What is the purpose of this abstract method is, we are just declaring the method, we are not defining the method. What is the advantage of having such kind of method? Although it is not having any functionality or the function definition for it, what is the advantage of writing it? It is like, suppose you are developing a project. Whatever the functionalities that you wanted to incorporate, you as a what you call project lead, you have to ensure that these are the functions to be defined. Functions needs to be defined by your team members. Then as a team lead, what you can do is you can provide a list of functions to be defined, and what should be the return type, and what it has to take, that is what are the parameters to take. These are all things you will specify as the project lead. Then whoever are the project members, they will it's like they will derive this particular class what you have defined as abstract class, where you are having abstract methods, so that they have to give the definition for these all methods. Then only that particular whatever the class they have derived, that can be instantiated. That means that can have objects. We can create objects for classes which are concrete classes. If we have abstract class, we cannot instantiate. That means we cannot create object. Why? Because by using that object, if we call that function, we are not having any definition to invoke, right? That's why if you wanted to restrict a class not to instantiate, not to have objects, then simply we can say abstract class. We can put abstract before the class definition. This is one way. But just what is the point I wanted to discuss here is abstract class will contain abstract methods where we will be providing basic functions to be defined. So whatever the class which is extending, which is deriving from this class, has to give definition for all the abstract methods. Okay. Now meta-CDN, as meta-CDN is the mediator. Whatever the basic functionality needs to be incorporated by all the storage clouds. Okay, that functionality is being specified by meta-CDN. So this meta-CDN will have an abstract class called default connector where it will provide all the functionalities required. Just functionalities will be specified. Okay, it will not be defined, that you remember. Now Amazon storage cloud is there. It has to extend from this default connector. So whatever the methods declared, those all methods have to be defined in Amazon cloud. Similarly, Nirvanix means it has to derive and it has to define all the functions. Similarly, Microsoft Azure means it has to derive from this default connector and it has to define all the functions which were declared as abstract methods in this particular abstract class. Okay, now I will show you with this particular one. Here you see this is the abstract class where we are having certain functions like a create folder, delete folder, create file, create file with URL, next rename file, create torrent. Like this, all these we are having as basic functionalities to be incorporated by all the storage clouds. Now if Amazon, see here, Amazon S3 connector, it is deriving from this default connector. Which one is the base class now? What is the base class? Yes, please respond now. What is the base class for Amazon S3 connector? Default connector. This is the base class. Similarly, Nirvanix connector, for this class also, what is the base class? Default connector. So as this is an abstract class, whatever the functions which are declared as abstract here, these all functions needs to be defined in this Amazon S3 or in Nirvanix connector. Suppose any of these functionalities are not being offered by this storage clouds, then it can raise feature not supported exception. Like for example, renaming file is not allowed in Amazon S3. Here you can observe renaming file is not allowed in Amazon S3. Then it is mentioning that throws feature not supported exception. What does it indicates is it is not being, this service is not being offered by Amazon S3. Similarly here, create torrent method is not supported by this Nirvanix. So it is throwing an exception called feature not supported exception. Whenever we wanted to rename a file in Amazon storage cloud, what we have to do is we have to delete that file and we have to rename locally and upload the new file. That is the restriction imposed by this Amazon S3 storage cloud. So this rename file directly, this service is not being offered by Amazon S3. Okay, although it is specified in default connector. That's why we have to mention throws feature not supported exception. Got it? Similarly, here Nirvanix is not supporting this feature called creating torrent. That's why it is throwing an exception called feature not supported exception. Got it? Yes. Yeah. Here you can observe feature not supported exception. If the These include basic operations like creation, deletion, renaming of replicated files and folders. If an operation is not supported on a particular service, then connector for that service throws a feature not supported exception. Okay, for example, you can consider Amazon most well-known limitation. You cannot rename a file, which should result in a feature not exception if called. Okay, if you try to call rename functionality, then it will raise an exception called feature not supported exception. Okay, instead what we can do is we can delete a file and re-upload it. This is one thing. Second example is, as we have seen, Nirvanix connector throws feature not exception, feature not supported exception when you try to create a BitTorrent deployment, because it does not support this functionality. Okay, whereas in Amazon S3 it is being supported. That's why there is no exception specified for these methods in Amazon S3. Whereas in Nirvanix it is not supported. That's why it is specified as a throws feature not supported exception. Got it? This is about creating meta CDN. Okay, or we can consider building content delivery network using storage clouds. Okay, in 2 minutes I'll try to recall what we have discussed so in this particular class. First of all, we have seen what is meant by content delivery network. Okay, with respect to Google example we have discussed. Afterwards, as we are having lot of storage clouds, can't we use these storage clouds as end servers in by acting as end servers? Okay, by considering one centralized server. Okay, we have discussed about these 4 famous what you call storage clouds called Amazon S3 and CloudFront. There are 2 variants offered by Amazon: simple storage service and CloudFront. Next, second one is Nirvanix SDN. Third one is Rackspace Cloud Files. Fourth one is Microsoft Azure Storage. With respect to these, we have seen several prices and several parameters to consider while considering what is the cost incurred when we deploy our data in different clouds, in different storage clouds. And coming to the point, our main goal is to establish a CDN called Meta CDN, which is having the goal that it has to incur a low cost and give high performance for high performance content delivery by using these all storage clouds. Okay, whatever the network we will establish, that we call it as Meta CDN. This Meta CDN will act as the mediator. Okay, where we will be having several functionalities through this Meta CDN only. Users will be accessing the several storage clouds. Okay, there are 2 ways to use this Meta CDN. One is web portal, another one is web service. And this is the registration form. While registration itself, we could able to specify what are the preferable storage clouds, and in this particular one, there is an abstract class called default connector where all the required functionalities will be specified but not defined. Whatever the storage cloud which has to provide, which wanted to provide this CDN, has to derive from this default connector and give the definition for all the methods which are declared in this default connector. If any functionality or the service is not being offered by certain service provider, then it has to specify against that service as a throws feature not supported exception. Okay, these are the examples for certain kind of things. Yeah, is it clear, ma, so far?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes, you can